Liberty's Bulwark, a Pathfinder 2e campaign with blades and blasters. Tonight I am joined by 4 amazing players. We're going to go backwards. Joined by our friend Zypher.
Hello, I'm Zypher and I play Rigson in tonight's game.
Wanderer.
Hi, I'm Wanderer, and I'll be playing Corovel, the elf druid, half-elf druid.
The Bees.
Hi, I'm the Bees. I'm playing Milo Epley, the young, holy man.
And last but not least, Sim.
Yo, I'm Sim, and I play Mad.
Awesome. And I am your friendly neighborhood GM, the Prankster. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Tonight is Chapter 8. The Silver Ravens slept in the next morning because of a Rigson who stayed up late into the night the previous evening. The next morning, they waited for him in the tavern to wake up. When Rigson finally did, he made a beeline to the blacksmith to forge his sword into a pike at the end of an old great axe. He also returned the silver sword that he received from Ulthel, the mayor of Akasazi, who revealed he too was once a silver raven. The mayor promised to do his best to keep the sword. Milo did his best, which wasn't to say very good, to tail Rigson and keep an eye on him. Rigson knew, but didn't really care. Meanwhile, Caravel and Madden got to know one another as they waited for the two to return. With some errands taken care of, Rigson made his way back to the tavern, taking a map off of the wall and placing it upon the table in front of him and his mates. Rigson proceeded to discuss a strategy that seemed to show an intimate knowledge of Hellknights' inner workings and how they retrieve slaves. The group, having decided upon a course of action, moved to ready themselves for action, grabbing items and preparing for a long adventure outside of Akasazi. Meanwhile, Sabriel was still in the Hellknight camp, his hands still bound. He made to act like he had to go to the bathroom. The lead Hellknight escorted him closely as he made his way to the forest edge to relieve himself. Sabriel, thinking he was clever, saw a large animal burrow and purposefully broke his ankle while walking back, in the hopes of slowing down the entire caravan. Undeterred, the lead knight, Hellknight, decided to start Sabriel's formal training early, forcing him to repeatedly walk back and forth on his broken ankle.
Again,
he would say, causing Sabriel to wince in pain with every step on his newly hurt and broken ankle. Sabriel, filled with hate after the repeated action, and those captured became filled with despair at their plight. In the morning, the Ravens, having finally recouped and recovered from their loss to the Hellknights, readied themselves for the road ahead, taking off to investigate the cult that the shop owner Sedru told them about. On the way, they saw a small cabin being assailed by Hellknights. They tried to dissuade those Hellknights from their overtly intimidating tactics, but they would have none of it. A fight erupted and the Ravens came out on top. They stripped the defeated and readied them for interrogation as a newfound power entered their bones for the days ahead. With that said, friends, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the map that we were last on, and we will go from there. As I'm doing that, we left this with the scene of you kind of stringing up these Hellknights, preparing to kind of interrogate them. What's going through everybody's mind, and what is going on as I look for this map?
Corovel is standing slightly apart from the others and kind of watching the proceedings, and he looks like he's trying to come to a decision. And more of that in a second. I'll let the others speak.
Madden, after defeating the Hellknights and capturing them and removing their armor and binding them and then stringing them up in the higher object that he could, is worried that, one, they may be wasting a little more time than he wants to, but at the same time he's hoping that the information given to him through any means is going to be valuable.
Milo is pumped. It's been a really crappy few days, and it finally feels like things are on the up and up. We're gonna be able to find Sabriel and get rid of this whole gang of devil worshippers. He's newly enthusiastic with the progress that we've made.
Rigzin is carefully observing Madden as he's stringing these prisoners up. He is observing the prisoners themselves. He is also it's not like the body language is not like of looting, but he seems also very interested in what do you call the armament and the vestiges that these Hellknights were wearing, and he seems to be like moving stuff that is kind of piled up, like their clothing, their armor, their boots. He's kind of moving it around, not touching it really, but with his like the pike of his axe. And you can see like he's seeing something, and it's like he's raising an eyebrow and he's looking up at them, and he's kind of constantly looking at both of them. Definitely, like his face is has this concerned look on
it. As you string up these guys, they have essentially are kept on kind of the unconscious cusp of death, but you strip them of all their things. They are essentially ready for you to interrogate. However, before that moment can occur, this cabin was occupied, and
I was going to ask.
Stepping out of that door is a man who kind of like slowly opens the door, having heard fighting, and he goes, what is what is going on here?
You are liberated. You are liberated from these Hellknights. I am Milo, cleric of Sarenrae.
Thank you.
And these are my friends. We are Silver Ravens. Milo says with a big smile.
Well, 3 of you are, says Caravel and smiles.
And that's
but it's quite a tight kind of smile, and he says, Rigzin, Madden, whatever you're planning on doing, are you sure you want to do it right outside this poor man's house?
We've already wasted enough time.
And Caravel walks round. He kind of waves Nashar away, and he himself walks round to this side to meet the man, and says, I don't think you want to be here for this. Quite frankly, I'm not sure I want to be here for whatever happens next, but perhaps you should gather anyone else who's there and leave for a little while. If anyone asks, you weren't here when these Hellknights arrived.
Do you share? Because I know that you are actually part of the Bellflower Network, correct?
Yes. Do I know this guy?
That's actually a really good point. Let's go ahead and roll on it. Yeah, because you're familiar with these coasts. You're part of the Bellflower Network. I'm going to roll a d20, and I'm just going to leave it up to fate 50-50, 1 through 10. You don't. Anything higher, you do. So yeah, this guy You don't recognize him off the top of your head.
Right. Okay, so I'm not going to lead with being part of the Bellflower Network.
Gotcha.
But I'll just say, these Hellknights meant you no good. My friends mean to question them. I think perhaps, well, I'm not sure what limits they're setting on this, so I'm not sure it'll be pleasant to watch. You should leave.
The man takes a step out and looks at them, at your friends, looks at you. Tell me, what is it that you mean to do to them? And he looks them up and down with kind of a knowing glare. Like he... Seems like he knows what you're going to do to them, but he wants you to say it.
Yeah, Milo's kind of looking back and forth too, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and Caravel's kind of looking at Madden, but particularly at Rigzin, and saying, well, what are you planning on doing?
Rigzin looks at the man. These Hellknights are part of a larger group that has been observed in this area. They are rounding what they consider contract breakers. They consider them contract breakers, but in Sheliax, the people they round up are used as slaves. They have captured quite a number of them to the north of here at the lighthouse. A fellow Silver Raven was also captured in that fight. We mean to find where these Hellknights are camped and how they plan to leave Ravenel, use this information to free the remaining slaves and get our friend back in. As to what we are planning to do with them, that we have not yet decided. We still must discuss this. But I can say this. Finding the rest of the captured folk and our friend is priority above all else. If you wish us to leave your premises, go somewhere else to do our job, we will do so. For after all, it is your house and your land. We do not mean to impose. However, for us, time is of the essence. But we shall respect your wishes.
He takes a deep breath in, kind of like nodding his head. I think your goal is worthy, and I think Iomadai herself would approve. She detests slavers and the like. You have my permission. And he nods and walks back inside. And closes the door.
Rigzin is kind of like you can see on his face. Everybody would see this. He is perplexed of what this man just said. And for once, he's kind of at loss for words. Kind of almost like looking at that man with that like a dumb expression on his face, like just not believing what he heard.
Madden as he finishes with his prisoners, walks back after hearing the man and everything, and looks at Rigzin. Those words were spoken like a former slave.
And when you say that also, Madden, you can see there is like this, from that dumbfounded expression on his face, like quickly turns to this, like almost like a wince, like as if somebody just poked Rigzin in the ribs with a dagger. And he kind of winces when you said a former slave.
If they, you think that the Hellknights have come to retrieve him as a slave? That he's not safe here. He must be escorted somewhere safely.
I can talk to him. If you're planning to go as far with these men as I think you are, I have no stomach for it.
And Madden kind of look at Milo. I need you to watch the prisoners while me and Wigson discuss what we're gonna do. But it'd be best doing it at the earshot of them.
Milo looks concerned. I will make sure this man is okay, and just kind of stuttering for words, just goes and knocks on the door. Sir, may we come inside?
Yes, please. So give me just a second.
Sure.
Here we go. Perfect. Actually,
This reminds me of the classic joke in D&D is like, the best thing your paladin can do for your party is have a low perception score.
that's good.
I mean, yeah, Milo is legitimately concerned for this gentleman. And there's nobody else. There's nobody else in the house.
Yeah, you would come into a very simple abode. It appears that this man lives here alone, and he kind of like gets back to whatever he was doing in the kitchen. It looks like he is preparing a meal, or maybe just kind of like going through some of his stocks. What do you do? And we'll come back to the outside in just a minute.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Milo would ask him straight up. So, do you know why the Hellknights came to your home?
My bad.
I'm so sorry. I said I'm Milo, cleric of Sarenrae. What is your name?
Yes. My name is Dedrier. It's good to meet you.
And I am Coravel.
Coravel. Good to meet you. If you're going to be in here, and if you, of course, you're more than welcome to come and sit for a meal, please, if you'd kind of help to prepare some things. And you'd see kind of like on this central table right here, looks like he has kind of like meat that looks like it's being prepared for the fire and for eating, some flour, a couple of other things. Look like he's trying to make some bread. And he's kind of like going through this whole process. Go ahead.
I'm sure you weren't expecting visitors. I will not turn down your hospitality, but I have bust out like some rations. There's more to share. I know we are more than you anticipated today.
The good lady will provide, no worries. Please. And he just kind of keeps trying to get you to tell. I know that I find food a little bit better when I can help prepare it.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Milo will attempt to help him in the kitchen, whatever he's working with.
Sure.
Or set the table, whatever I can do.
Yeah, Coravel will help out as well.
Sure.
He's not a great cook, but he can chop things.
It's probably because House Thrune is no fan of expatriates, people who've left Chaliax for reasons that are their own. Kind of looks at you and nods.
And at this moment, Coravel says something that might not appear to make much sense, but it's a coded phrase from the Bellflower Network, and he says, they do say that the most delicate blooms bloom in darkness. And he looks to see if there's a reaction from the guy.
You notice that he stops for a moment. Kind of like turns around and looks at you, and he says, "I've heard that before." Kind of puts his finger to his lips. Doesn't ring a bell now, but it is familiar.
Well, it's a saying. And Caravel smiles and carries on chopping things up.
Got you. So let's shift to the outside really quick to our friends Madden and Rigzin, who have these two people before them. What's going on?
Rigzin looks to Madden. These are Hellknight initiates. And Rigzin with his axe, especially the pike end of the axe, he would move the armor around to show some, almost like a ribbon-like attachment to what would be like along the arm. They are part of the Order of the God Claw. This is their symbol, and he points to the symbol on the helm. They are accustomed to pain. In many ways, that is a core principle of their order.
Madden will hold up his hand real fast. It's best we not do it in front of them. And he'll look. We should go away a few paces to discuss this.
Yes. And Rigzin would kind of step a little way, but he'll step away, but he's kind of his face and he's looking at the prisoner, so it's not like they can get up and walk away while it's not like his back is turned to them.
Madden, go ahead and roll me a wisdom check, just a straight up wisdom check. And as you're rolling that, as you're dragging these guys off, sure enough to what Rigzin said, like you see like just scars on their back, and both of them, and it looks like and Madden, actually, now that I think about it, you look at it and it's very clear that this to you that these are the marks of people who've been whipped. What's self-flagellation? But maybe not by themselves. But you can see kind of the marks of that on their backs, and perhaps for a moment your back itches from your own past memories. Where so we don't have to pull them actually far off. You tell me that you guys are about a quarter mile off, 100 yards, whatever.
We're just out of earshot.
Just out of earshot.
Yeah.
So you guys drag these guys about just out of earshot of the house. They do not have their armor on. They do not have any weapons within reach. They are, for all intents and purposes, at 0 hit points mechanically. And I'm going to say that you guys have smelling salts or something to awaken them whenever you're ready.
All right. Yeah, we just didn't want to discuss the... Bad didn't want to discuss any part of the plan by them in case they were able to hear it or anything. So you want us? That's why we're going away a few steps.
Yeah. So we drag the Hellknights a little away from the house, and then just Madden and I kind of step away from the Hellknights a little bit so we can discuss.
That was out of earshot part.
Yep.
Sure. Got you. So what are you guys discussing?
Yeah. So Rigzin says the Order believes in total obedience. Failure is dealt with harshly. Pain is a founding tenet for that order. If we are to question them and use force, it is most likely that they will withstand for a long while and might just perish.
Well, my plan wasn't to, per se, kill them and rip them apart, but more, how could you say it, show their failure. You see, they don't need to be able to walk, to see, to feel. You know what I mean? You see what I mean? They can live as the blind and the crippled. The one who talks first, the one that gets less crippled.
Yes, I understand what you intend to do.
Humiliation is a form of tactic. They can't fight no more. They can't return home. They get lost in the woods. Have to depend on someone else. Perhaps their tongues be removed. But we keep them alive.
And what if they don't talk?
Then they live as cripples. And they don't tell us anything anyways.
No, that is not what I'm getting at, madam. They came from the camp. They know where the camp is. We need to find the camp. You know what they will do to Sabriel. They will make Sabriel one of them. That is what I've not been discussing openly in front of Milo, because I do not wish him to be perturbed and lose his center. You've seen the brutality that the Hellknights can do and can met. I have seen it firsthand also. They will turn Sabriel. They might have already started it, I do not know. He is a powerful wizard. He may not realize it, but he is. They will want to use him. He will be extremely effective on their side in battle. I have seen their initiates. I have seen how they are initiated. They are taught to withstand pain. They are taught to almost welcome it. I understand what you're trying to do here. And believe me, if it worked, I would have helped you with it. But there is a very strong possibility that it may not work. These are the only two that can lead us back to camp, or at least show where the camp is. Right now, I'm grasping at straws, and again, I do not wish to let Milo find out. He is young. He believes he is on a righteous path. I want to keep it. More should not be lost to the darkness that's happening.
So you say we let them go?
No. I said they are accustomed to pain. But fear is a completely different beast, isn't it? Nobody can be accustomed to fear. You can only make friends with it. And I do not yet know if these initiates have made friends with fear.
Well, that's kind of how tortured works. You go after the one, the other one gets afraid and talks.
But if they do not talk, is what I'm getting at.
Then we let them go and we follow him to his camp.
Yes. And that is why we must leave one unharmed so he can make his way back to camp. He can observe what you do to the other. That should instill fear in him. They might be ready for pain. They might even have ways to deal with it. But when you see it being done to somebody else, the fear it generates, that is real.
The night so nothing changes. We picked one. And we showed his friend what's going to happen to him. Then we change our minds after our friend doesn't talk. And we follow him. Maybe remove a foot or something. Slow him down.
No, I would say leave him unspoiled. If he's slowed down, that means the camp might just move away thinking that these two have been lost. They are initiates. They can always choose to lose initiates, not lieutenants and captains. I would say we pick one. We bind the other one, but just lose enough that he can escape. We go to work on one, let the other watch, and then we take a break. But not really a break, we'll be observing. And then we track him.
Agreed. Let's wake them up and figure out which one's the weakest. The one that's more afraid is the one that watches.
Very well.
And with that, man will go over and use whatever form of smelling salt that they have. His idea is to intimidate each one of them, and the one that's more scared is the one that's going to watch.
So yeah, you take the smelling salts, put it under their nose, and in a moment, you can see them like coming to as they trying to like stretch their face where their nostrils are, especially kind of shaking their head. They've got kind of dried blood, I picture, on their faces and on their chests, and they look at one another, look down, and one of them's just like, fuck. And they look up at the two of you, and look to have a moment of resoluteness in themselves. Go on now. What is it? Do your worst.
Do my worst, you say. And he'll start out. He'll look at him, and he'll show him his mark as a former slave. Do you recognize this mark?
They look and they nod.
Then you know I'm prepared to do whatever I need to do. The question is, who do I start with? And you kind of look at the one on the right and uses intimidating glare.
Gonna see which one rolls the worst of the two. All right, the one. So yeah, the one up top, this one right by Rigson, looks at you with kind of a steely jaw, refusing to not back down, and then you turn your glare to this one on the lower, and he tries to avert your gaze, almost like a dog would when it knows you're mad at it, or it knows it's done something bad. Yeah, he is intimidated.
Okay. And man's gonna look around him and try to find something to, I guess you would say it's a prostate, the top one. Put him belly down on something elevated.
Yeah, I would say that.
Prostrate. Prostrate is different than
Prostrate?
prostrate. Yeah.
There you go. Well, it might not be in a minute.
I was about to say, this is who knows what they're planning.
It's time for your check when you hit 50 years
Puts on
old.
the rubber glove.
Madden puts on a glove. Yeah, no, you put him on. I'm going to say you put him on kind of like some fallen timber that is just kind of like elevated, and he would be kind of like forced to look at this other one that's just tied up over here. So this one is on the timber. This one is not.
And as Madden sets him there with his back facing towards with the Hell Knight's back facing towards the sky, he'll look at the one that's not on the timber. Are you familiar with the Blood Eagle?
Whoa.
He looks at you and does not. No. He shakes his head.
Well, allow me to enlighten you. And he takes his sword and starts cutting off. Well, imagine the guy's got a shirt on. He's not totally naked after removing the armor, and he'll cut the shirt with his great sword. See, the object is to go on each side of the spine and cut the ribs, and he'll start carving into each side of the spine to expose the rib cage.
So, okay, so Madden goes to work. Rigson, you feel like the hairs on the back of your neck as if like this isn't right.
Just to give the RP, Rigson is standing there watching Madden, and he is clutching the handle of the battle axe, and his grip tightens. His whole body just tightens.
And we will fade to black on that. No need to go into super gruesome details. And we will go back into the little house with this man who's preparing a meal and has invited you to come. And at this point in time, you are well into preparing this meal, and it is a plate filled with... you're still kind of working on it, but it's getting closer to the end of the preparation. What brings you out here, anyway?
Coravel is looking back over his shoulder. He's going over to the window over here to see what the others are up to. He wasn't expecting anything this bad from them. He was thinking that maybe they might like beat a confession out of the guys. He goes to have a look out the window because he doesn't want to be there when it's happening.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry. I walked away to use the restroom, just like my character. I feel like I really missed out on something.
It got gruesome.
Oh, that's perfect. Milo has no idea. Just having a good conversation.
Yeah. And Coravel kind of... Well, he's about to get an idea. And Coravel goes over to the window and he's saying to that, we were tracking these Hellknights, and then he gets to the window and pauses and looks out, and then he just turns white and just looks away and mutters to himself, "God above," and kind of steps back from the window and kind of backs towards the table, looking utterly sort of shocked and horrified. And he sort of turns towards the man and sort of says, yes, we were. And then he just sort of stops and he says, "Milo, don't go out there."
I wasn't planning to.
It's bad what they're doing. I thought perhaps they might try and beat a confession out of these men, but this is worse. They're going down a dark path.
Well, it's all for justice in the end. Milo says, like, trying to reassure himself.
Yeah, and Corovel said, what I just saw out that window wasn't justice. Horror. I can't be a party to this, Milo.
We aren't a part... Milo will definitely want to go to the window at this point. You're like, don't look at the window. It's really bad!
Yeah, yeah. So Corovel will actually try and stand in the way and says, believe me, you don't want to see. Let's just say it's bloody.
Milo will just look at you and... Gosh, I'll probably look over at the other gentleman in there too, see how he feels. Just very confused.
Yeah. The other gentleman is kind of like looking at you like, what the is going on? And he will kind of like slowly hit the plate down and make his way towards the door. Now, if I recall, you guys are about 100 or 200 yards out, enough that you can't be heard, but you're not trying to like hide what you're doing, correct, Rigson and Madden?
Yes.
Oh, actually, so I thought they were visible from the hut because I was looking at the other map. But if they've gone farther than that, he won't have seen it then. Is that right?
So yeah, I just want to make certain because I know you guys said that you went. Yeah, we didn't move the tokens just because I was lazy, and it would take it like way off the map.
Sure. Because I thought they were going away from the Hellknights so they wouldn't be heard and then coming back to.
Yes, but if I recall, Madden and Rigson, you guys weren't trying to hide what you were doing, correct?
No. I would say no, not trying to hide.
Okay, and so you guys are maybe like 100 yards off, maybe 150. Is that fair?
Yeah,
Sure.
I think that would be fair. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I think we can resolve this pretty easily with a perception check from Corovel. Corovel, go ahead and roll me a perception check. And I'm going to say that I'm going to set the DC in my head, and we're going to see what happens.
I was thinking that he probably couldn't tell exactly what was happening, but he could see that the guy's on the ground and Madden's above him with a sword. That's what I was thinking. Let's have a look.
Yeah, that's more than enough. I set the DC at 15. So, Corovel, yeah, you look out the window, and everything that happened just now is 100%. Like, you see maybe like a spurt of blood. You see Madden with his axe. Rigson is standing by, clenching his great axe in both hands. This one Hellknight is forced to look upon the other, and Madden is like going to work in it. You know, like you. Maybe you hear like slight screams over the fire, just like a bit. Maybe it's just because of you're in tune with this area. You just hear things or see things. Just you're very perceptive, and so you pick up on it. So everything that just happened. Yes, I just wanted to make certain that we're all good. So you can still block Milo. The man will open up the door, and I'm going to move him. I don't know if I'll need to move him out to the next map.
Corovel sort of sees him too late, and he's been trying to block Milo, and then sees him go, "No, don't!" But it's too late.
He opens the door, and he kind of like slowly peers, and he sees Madden with an axe, and he sees Rigson over there with his axe, and he's like, "By the gods, I'm all for returning slaves, but this is reprehensible." And he like opens the door and begins to sprint towards the two of them.
Yeah, at this point, Milo would break away from Corovel and chase him out. So, justifying in his own mind, like we're a team, like we're all. He's just a new guy. He doesn't know. Milo would run out to see what was going on as well, clueless as to, as am I, because my perfectly timed bathroom break. I don't know what's going on out there.
Sure. Go ahead and move you guys back onto the other map. This guy is running. At this point in time, you guys would be able to see that they are coming towards you. Matt and Rigzin, are you doing anything about it?
Yeah, Matt and Rigzin.
Rigzin would just step away from Madden and kind of move. And, he has his great axe in his left hand, and his right hand, he's kind of, it's almost like that, like a stop.
And what can we see as we're approaching?
Milo, as you approach, you see one Hellknight. This top one is kind of bound to this kind of like fallen timber, and it's elevated slightly, and he is kind of like forced to look at his other friend as he kind of like tries to avert his gaze. This other one on the ground is bound, and Madden is kind of like one leg on each side of him as he's carving into his back. Like every now and then you could probably see squirts of blood coming out. And maybe as you draw even closer, you would even be able to see the bones of his rib cage protruding from his back.
Yikes. Okay.
Accompanied by much screaming and yelling, I would presume.
Yikes. Yeah, at this point, Milo's horrified by what he sees. He would run up. I guess Rigzin's trying to intercept us, but I would just scream out, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, and as the man is running and gets stopped by Rigzin, he's trying to kind of like push his hand out of the way. What in God's names are you doing? This is cruel! There's no doubt those Hellknights are the spawn of Asmodeus himself, but no one deserves this!
And yeah, Corrivel's coming up behind as well, and he's looking slightly somewhat nauseated, and quite determined, and says, "Rigzin, you know he's right. This is too much, too far. This is the kind of thing they do. Hells, it may be worse than they do. It's cruel."
Madden, hearing all the commotion, looks over, and he'll pause. And they'll look across the way. "They have come to save you, maybe. But not before I finish. You better tell me where you're going. Where's your camp? Where's your path?"
Let me roll this.
I can roll another intimidation if necessary.
Yeah, go ahead and roll another intimidation against his will. Obviously, he's taking a pretty big hit to his will, so... Okay.
I, as a player, am so grossed out right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I'm more offended than Milo, and Milo should be outraged right now.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as... I'm going to go ahead just to help give you guys a frame of reference. As the guy begins screaming, the one who is actually able to talk looks to up north of here. He begins to look nauseated as he looks at all of you, and he's like, "By God, just stop! Stop! They're in the forest to the east of Akasazi. That's where they are. Just stop, please."
Rigzin would turn around to Madden. "Stop. We have what we need."
"We do.
Rigzin, are you... I know that you're wearing your old armor, and is there... I know that we specifically talked about what you did to your sword. Is there anything on your armor to indicate that you, at the very least, were a worshipper of Yomadai?
Not that I know of. Not that I have something written in RP. But how about you activate that that weapon?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, as this is kind of like going around, everybody roll me a perception check really quick.
Including Rigzin?
Yeah, everyone, including Rigzin. Okay. Corval, okay. Man, okay, this makes sense that Rigzin is the first one to see it. You hear us like a quick like thunk, like something gets stuck in wood, and presumably in this forest you're looking in, Rigzin, you see that same silver sword that woke up in the chair across from your bed, and it is like, it looks like it's almost been thrown into a tree. It's like sticking out just there, and it's a long sword. And the man looks at it himself. He says, "Look, the long sword of Yomadai. This is not in her name. This is not a blessing. This is not good. This must end now. Cleric, do what you can to help that man."
I will. Actually, Milo is planning on casting Burning Hands to finish them both off.
Madden, once he gets the information he needs from the bottom one, stops giving the Blood Eagle to the other one on the top. Looks like your misery is cut short. And he'll swiftly dispatch him.
So it might be a fight between who wants to finish them first. Milo would certainly run up and cast Burning Hands to catch both of them on fire. Like, may the hells purify you, as this life could not. I mean, they could cast a reflex save if they wanted to, but...
You try to cast Burning Hands on these two people, and nothing comes out.
Nothing comes out of me?
Nothing comes out, and inwardly you feel like the equivalent of your mom looking at you disappointed.
Oh, jeez. What have you done?
Meanwhile, Coravel, white-faced, very tight-lipped, is kind of toe-to-toe with the much bigger and bulkier Rigzin. And he says to him, "You've crossed a line. This is too much. This is the cruelty we oppose. This is not what we stand for. I promise to help you find your friend, and I will do that. But then we part ways. I don't know what's wrong with you, but I can't travel with you. I can't be a party to this. I'll find your friend, and then I'm gone." And he says to the man next to him, "We should go inside. I can't look upon this any longer."
Yeah, the man looks up to, like, no fear, just looks Rigzin right in the eyes and just says to you, "This is not good. The lady herself is against slavers and just blind obedience like these men follow. But this is beyond the pale. This is not honorable combat where they fall, but he looks at like with disdain and a distaste in his mouth, but wrong. And he walks off towards this man and begins to do what he can, which isn't to say very much.
And Corovel turns his back on the whole scene and walks down to the water's edge. And it looks like Nashar is there waiting. And he holds out a hand and just stands there quietly with his hand on the snake's head, just looking out into the water. He seems to be shaking slightly with some kind of emotion.
Madden, when he dispatches the one on the log, will wipe his sword off. Look at the one they're working on. Just save him if you want. And he'll walk over to Rigson. We have the information we need.
Milo's like looking at his hands like, it didn't work. I was trying to do good by releasing them from this life.
What do you suppose we do with the survivor?
Milo like prays. What shall we do? I thought they were beyond redemption. I know it is anathema to it is forbidden to kill those who are repentant, but these are Hellknights. That surely they're devout. Milo looks at the one who's still alive and like tortured, his ribs hanging out.
No, the one.
Oh, I'm sorry. The other one is the one that's alive, huh?
Yeah, the one I was watching.
The one that confessed, so basically. Milo would ask him, Can you repent of the evil you've done?
I think he is just like fixed on this other one, and he says, "But what evil? We were only doing what we were told. We were obedience, faith, salvation, redemption through obedience. We were doing that. We were." And he just kind of like keeps saying it over and over again.
No, this path ends now. You will turn away from darkness. Milo's like really emotionally upset. You can be redeemed. I didn't think it was possible, but Serenade, forgive me. Milo will cast a heal on this gentleman here. 2-step, or what do you call it? 2-action healing to this guy. To get him up as high as I can. With my new 2nd level spell.
Damn, 26. Okay, yeah. So yeah, a healing light kind of like washes over him, and he
Tell me, what is your name?
Sorry, I was rolling something.
Sure.
I am Uros. You healed me. Why would you heal me?
Serenade teaches that redemption is the ultimate goal. That there must be justice, but that all might be redeemed. He takes a glance over at Rigson, who's perhaps irredeemable at this point. You You must not return to the Hellknights. You are a free man.
Well, I won't. I won't return to them.
Gosh, I also will cast another level 2 spell. I'm excited about my new level 2 spells. I will cast Calm Emotions on him to help him to feel better. It's like I mean, mechanically, it's supposed to reduce lots of hostile effects, other things like that. But I just want to comfort him while I'm using my spells to try to help redeem this unthinkable person. Milo never thought he would do this, but this is why I'm a cleric. This is what I'm called to do.
Welcome back, everybody. My apologies. Small computer issue, but we are back. We just had our players go on, and I believe that Bees had used Milo to just cast a spell.
Yes, Milo is shocked at the fact that he could not put them out of their misery. Like, Saren Ray did not want him to just kill them. Kind of taken aback, trying again here. He heals the one who's still alive, and then casts a level 2 spell called Calm Emotions to try to put him at peace and at ease with the idea of changing his life. There's nothing to fear in the light.
Sure. What does the will save on that?
Oh, great question. I hate how when I cast a spell it goes away. I think it's Will 19.
Will 19. Okay, yeah. But, I mean, he has enough negatives with what's going on for him to chill. And you notice, like, a supernatural calm takes over him, and he's like, okay, no. There's something wrong with what we've been doing. And I need to change. And he looks up at you with eyes like that.
Yes. You aren't above. You aren't beyond redemption. Milo says this is super excited. You can go another way. He can go another way. Milo turns to the party. He can be redeemed, but as the dawn brings new light to the night, so the light may bring light to you.
He nods. And have you broken his bonds by this point?
I don't have any weapon to do so, but I would have healed him, and yeah. I think at this point Milo would be willing to just start untying him as well as he can, not even caring what the rest of the party says, because I'm on Saren Ray's terms here.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of his pog, because he's no longer armored. So yeah, he looks at you and, like, slowly stands up, and the man who is standing right there is like, come, let's get you a meal. We'll figure out what to do with you next. And he looks towards the dead one who's been tortured, and they make their way back to the cabin.
So as they're going back to the cabin, Madden talking to Rigson. Perhaps we should don their armor when we approach their camp.
Okay, so just want to be clear. Milo, Corwell, and the other people are all in the house, correct?
No,
Corval's
Caravel's
still, yeah.
Stick
But not.
Caravel's standing on the edge of the water where his token is. Yeah,
Okay,
he's,
okay. I see him now. So while all of this was happening in parallel, right? Is Milo in the house or Milo outside?
I don't want to move Milo's token.
No, that's
without
fair.
him.
Milo would have very happily like followed him into the house to try to like this redemptive moment. It's like a dream come true for him. This is stuff you only read about. It's very ideological, but idealistic. But he's like, it's really happening. It's happening. So Milo would go ahead and run inside, not even caring what you guys are saying.
Cool. So Rigzin has just been quiet the whole time. To kind of go back a little. The man from the house came running, screamed something in his face, and then he went around him to the people on the ground. And then Corwell came and said something to Rigzin's face, and then he went away. Rigzin's just been standing there the whole time where all this was happening, with Milo coming and healing the guy and like talking to him. And all Rigzin has been doing is just staring into the distance, into the tree where he sees the long sword kind of embedded into the tree. And he's kind of aware what's happening around him. He's hearing the words, but he's intently watching the tree. And he's not sure, but he feels that there is actually blood dripping down from that sword along the tree trunk. And he seems transfixed to that till Madden comes from behind him and says, we should don their armor. Rigzin kind of does a 180. So now he's like facing Madden. Would you do what you have done to all slavers?
You mean torture them for information? Or
Yes.
do you mean kill them?
Both.
I'm of the opinion that they all must die. But I guess, like we just found out, not all are beyond approach. I'm not a fan of torture. I'm not a fan of killing. But I am a fan of saving my fund. And I'm a fan of ending slavery. And I'm a fan of handing any defeat I can to Cheliax.
Would you kill me, Madden?
For what?
For being part of the Hellknights? For enslaving people like you? For returning them to Cheliax against their wishes?
Well, you're standing here next to me now, aren't you? That means you're not a Hell Knight anymore. Again, like I said, some can be saved, I guess you could say, and redeemed.
But how do we know who can be saved and redeemed?
That's for the gods to decide.
Just like the gods decided us to be defeated that day and Sabriel to be lost?
Quite possibly. Or it was our failure. My failure. I don't tend to think about the grand plan. What I tend to think about is the here and now.
Yes. And the here and now itself plays in the grand plan, doesn't it not? Where do we draw the line?
Well, when Cheliax is no more, that's a line.
Do we destroy everything and everyone in the process to see that Cheliax is no more?
No, not everybody will come up in arms against us. That's a pretty good answer. When you look at somebody who comes to arms against those who come to save others, they may not see it as saving, but when you save more by defeating one, that to me is a line.
So we
Now-
sacrifice the few for the good of the many, is what you say?
That's what all wars are about.
And what if those who sacrifice, or we choose to sacrifice, how do we know that we are making the right sacrifice?
You don't. You just pray you do.
I have prayed, Rigson. I have prayed day and night. It still led me down this path, right by you. And before you, that night in Ravenel, that night where those people were impaled on those spikes, when this whole thing started. They were innocent, arrested on trumped up charges. Milo thinks that everyone can be redeemed. You pray to God, push some spells, and someone will see the error of their ways. But nobody talks about the nightmares, do they? They only talk about the light and the dawn, the day, not the cold of the night, when you stare into the fire and see all your deeds.
And that's why not everybody is cut out for it.
We have crossed a line here, my friend. There is no returning back from this. I thought I crossed a line that night in Ravenel, watching those innocents getting impaled, innocents that I had arrested, all in the name of law and duty. But I wonder, is today worse than that? Why? Because today I didn't have law by my side, and that day I did.
There are no laws in warfare. People are like to pretend there is some code. But when you're about to die, it all goes out the window, doesn't it?
It does.
And when your friend's about to die, the same thing happens.
It does. Survival makes us dishonorable. When the axe is about to fall, survival pushes us to things that we would do, we wouldn't think of. Like today. The survival of my soul is screaming what has happened was necessary in the name of my friend, for the good of this land.
Not just for your friend. For every slave those two would have plucked out of here. From now until the day they died. You saved all of them as well.
So we end up becoming slaves ourselves to the road we travel, trying to destroy these beings.
It's a burden.
It is a burden, yes. I can feel it. I can feel it within my bones. The grace leaving me.
And nobody else will ever feel that burden that you're feeling. Maybe because you took some of their burden for them.
Very well. I can't wear that armor, madam. It reminds me too much of who I was. Maybe there's nothing much. No, there is nothing good left in me anymore. That I haven't shown by what has happened. But I will not wear that armor.
It may have come with some use eventually.
You can wear it. Take me into that camp as a prisoner. If it is and I know it is the order of the God Claw, it is quite possible those who run the camp, I might even know them. Maybe my redemption lies at the end of a mace struck against my skull, or end of my battle axe struck against theirs. But I do know there is no true redemption for me as long as I live and breathe. Every night I'm going to be tortured by what happened today, by what happened to Sabriel, by what happened at Ravenel that night.
Everybody has that burden. There's killed men before. Some are worse than others. But you never get rid of them. It's a fool's dream to think you will. The only thing we can do is live for the moment. And pray someday down the road. Maybe we saved somebody great. To do good things.
Yes. At least hope Milo and Sabriel come to no harm. Maybe they can do good things.
Yeah. Perhaps. And the man will finish cleaning the sword. But I think we should get going.
Soon, go round up Milo. I think there is food in the house. I must take a moment.
They are no friends of mine at the moment. I'm pretty sure they are disgusted with me. So you take your moment. Then you go round them up.
Me? No. There is more disgust in me that I can see in their eyes than you will ever see.
I don't try to see it. And he'll look back at the body laying there. I am going to dispose of that properly.
Very well.
That man was set off to go take the
May
dispatch.
I suggest, and as you're about to dispatch and take it, may I suggest, I do not know this for sure. I do not know what exists beyond this plane. But I see sometimes things beyond our understanding and explanation happening around us. You see that tree over there? And he points, I'm not sure if Madden would see the sword, but Brigson would point to the tree where the sword was where he saw the sword being embedded.
That tree right there.
Yes. Let us give this man, this poor soul, a burial there. I cannot explain it. But in that place, there is some goodness. And whatever is redeemable of this man's soul, maybe in that place of good, it could be redeemed. For I know I am forsaken.
The two of you make towards the tree and begin to...
Sorry, Prank, your voice effect is still on.
Yeah.
All right. The two of you make towards the tree and begin to bury the man, digging a hole 6 feet deep, making certain that you can bury him in a good way. You have to cut through some roots and the like, and it is hard work, but I assume it would take you a couple of hours at least to be able to dig it and take care of it. Both of you are strong, so the work is fast. Rigson, as this is happening, the sword glints of the sun every now and then catch it, and it shines in your eye as you go about your work. Let's move to the inside of the house while they are burying this body. Well, actually, let's go to Coravel really quick because I don't know what's going on with him. He's at the edge of the ocean, standing on the coastline.
Yeah, so he was staying there for a long while, and as they go off to, round about the time they go off to bury the body, he turns back towards the house. He's looking pale, either with anger or some other emotion. It's hard to tell. Maybe is he upset? Is he disgusted? Is he furious? It's hard to tell, but it's probably a mix. And he makes his way back to the house. And was there a back entrance? I think it's an entrance to the end, isn't there?
Yeah,
so he goes
cabin.
Goes to the end and can move him on. He enters.
Your token to the cabin.
Thank you.
Welcome.
He enters, closes the door, and then lets out a breath that he didn't really realize he'd been holding. And he looks round at all of them. He's a little uncomfortable around the former Hellknight, so he doesn't really meet his gaze, but he steps in and looks at Milo and says, "They were driven to this. Driven by pain and anger and a feeling of failure in Rigson's part, and anger, hatred, old pain in Madden's case, I think. But those same emotions, those same dark drives. Those are what Hellknights use to train new members. And he looks across at the Hellknight over here, and then kind of looks back at Milo and says, "They are treading a dark path, and one I cannot go down with them. Like I said, I will keep my word. I will help reclaim your friend. But I cannot be with them. And until they turn from this path and make amends somehow for what they've done, I cannot call them friends." He steps over to Milo and says, "But you, I know, are a good man."
There are no good men, but those who serve the gods. I thank you for your kind words, but surely you understand now that none, not one of us, is beyond redemption.
When it comes to the judgment of the gods, to redemption and condemnation, judgment, I know little. I know nature and the ways of the wild. Nature can be brutal, it can be harsh, but it is rarely cruel. Only the races that stand on two legs, and a few animals with comparable levels of intelligence, can be cruel. It's not something I really understand, and it's not something I wish to be around. One of the reasons I oppose the Hellknights is their cruelty.
Of course. This is what makes us different than them, isn't it?
Yes, or it should be.
I suppose we are capable of great evil, but we're all also capable of great good. As our new friend Dedrir here, he was looking for vengeance upon these men. Gestures over to the Hellknight, whose name I forgot. But I think Milo knows. First he was looking for vengeance, and now he's preparing a meal. I think we're capable of great good.
True. But we must never forget that this life of violence and risk, it exposes us to great pain. And it's Rigzin and Madden's pain that's brought them to this. Pain can make you cruel. Yeah, I don't know. I'm no philosopher. I'm no cleric. I'm no good with words. But and he sort of pauses, and you can kind of see he's trying to think of the words, and he can't think of the words, and it kind of just bursts out. I'm not happy with what I saw today. And then he just feels, you can tell then he's just feeling it was inadequate. I don't have the words. I spent a long time in the wilds with just my friend Nashar for company, and she's not talkative. But I see good in you, Milo. I cannot walk this path with your friends, but I think perhaps you have the strength to. You have the strength to be there for them and guide them back the way you did to this man. And without really making eye contact with the former Hell Knight, he kind of nods his head over towards him. I think they'll need you, Milo. And your friend Sabriel, if the Hell Knights have had him for this long. Perhaps he'll be walking a dark path when you find him. I think perhaps he'll need you too.
Milo just kind of nods. There is no darkness that's impenetrable to light.
You have a simple but deep faith, Milo.
The man standing behind the counter looks at that and he nods. It is difficult in the face of evil to retain one's soul, to not give in to our base compulsions, to that which seems justified in the moment. I think there's one thing that we all need to help us with today. Who cares for a cup of tea?
And Corovel gives a sort of half smile and says, "That would be most welcome. Here, I believe I was cutting some vegetables for you." He goes back to the carrots he was chopping and carries on.
That's great. I'm sorry. I don't mean to break the mood, but I was imagining Prankster saying, "Orange mocha frappuccino," like Zoolander. Wake me up before you go starts playing. A jitterbug.
Yeah, total tone shift.
Yeah.
Corovel has a half calf.
Yeah. He goes
Soy
over
milk.
to his black. He goes over to his black kettle, pulls it out, pours water into 4 different cups, pours some soy milk into Corovel's, a little whipped cream on the top of Milo's, hands them with a smile. And he goes over to this one over here and hands him one as well. What are we going to do with you? I think it seems like he's in for a bit of a change. Looks at Milo, looks at Corovel.
Corovel glances across at Milo and then just looks down and carries on chopping carrots rather slowly.
Milo looks at the gentleman and says, just again, big smile on his face. Can we trust you?
Milo, I know that you are a Saren, right? Yes? It's the man who, the blonde man, who
Sure.
is, whose house you're in.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you know of Yomadai?
A bit. I know that we're cousins in faith, so to speak.
And he smiles at that, kind of goes to his end table and picks up a book and kind of brings it up over to this Hell Knight and sits next to him. And kind of like thumbing through the pages, the Hell Knight just kind of looking at him with a dumb look. He just looks real, just like shell-shocked at everything. And he kind of like opens up the book, and there is a... Well, I'm uncertain if you know of the axe of Yomadai. The axe that she performed as a paladin, as a champion of the god Erodin before he died. She was instrumental in the fighting of the World Wound. The demons were pouring through. In here, and he kind of like hands this book open to like a specific chapter, and hands it to this young man who's just an initiate. One of the acts that she performed was on a cultist, Tar Bafon, the Whispering Tyrant. The cultist seemed far too gone, and it was the Yomadai in her grace, in her mercy, that spared the man and brought him to the light. I think it would, I think it might help you, young man. And the young man takes it, kind of nodding. Heard of a Yomadai, but he says, but very little of things of this nature, if at all. Mostly, what we knew, what was taught to us was her righteous obedience to the law, and how that saved her, how that pushed her to be the deity she is today. And you see him get kind of like quiet and kind of start to read this chapter as the man kind of clasps this guy's shoulder and goes back to sitting down and drinking tea with you all. I imagine after some time of sitting there and talking, Rigzin and Madden, you guys would have enough time to be able to come back to the cabin. Do you enter into the cabin? How do you... you're just staying on the outside? I don't want to force your characters to do anything you don't want to. What do you do when you're all done with the burial?
Once we are done with the burial, Rigzin would look to Madden. I will let the others know. We shall give them some time, maybe an hour, to replenish themselves and take stock, and then we shall head out.
Yes, that's a good plan.
Rigzin would walk to the door, to the house, and knock.
Come in.
No,
No,
not yet. I would rather not. I would rather not. I am sorry for what you have witnessed, Theodore. He kind of looks beyond him and at Corwell and Milo. We shall leave in an hour. We know where the camp is. Take whatever time you need to collect yourself. Madden and I will be outside.
Corwell's face is stony. Rigzin speaks, and then when he finishes, Corwell just nods. And then looks away.
Rigzin would do a 180 and kind of march off towards the water banks.
Before you can walk off to the water banks, the man looks at you. My good man, I am no friend of Slavers, and I of course, would like them in Yomadai's name to perish, to repent, to just something. I do approve of what you're doing in freeing them, and that is a good thing. The day has been hard on you and your friend out there as well. Before you venture on, have a cup of tea. Warm yourself by the fire.
I appreciate the offer. But I want to clarify that what happened today here was not in the name of Yomadai. I have done things in the name of Yomadai, and I'm not sure anymore whether what I do reflects on her or not. But what I do definitely reflects on me. You are a gracious host. I appreciate what you're trying to do. But I must be alone with my thoughts.
If that is what you wish, I will not push the matter.
You stay safe once we leave. I do not know if more Hellknights will come. If we have anything to do with it, then more may never darken your doorstep. Feel free to report what has happened here to the authorities if you wish. My name is Rigzin. I'm a Silver Raven. You can report that as well. I am responsible for what happened here today. You can report that as well.
I appreciate your honesty and candor. While you may have participated in something today that I am not okay with. And he looks at you, and while you may have done things in Yomadai's name that you are not proud of, there is repentance.
Always. For all.
Rigzin looks up when Milo says that. Then I do say, both of you pray that I find my repentance. And maybe even some retribution. Before they can say anything, he walks away.
Sure. He nods. And he goes back into the cabin. I think you all heard that in about an hour your compatriots are leaving. I think that this man is... I think I can send him on his way, or befriend him or something. And the Hellknight is just like intently, or I guess I should say the former one, is just like intently looking at this with almost like a look of bewilderment. The book that he gave him. Not like, just like, he looks up at Milo and Coraval and the man who's like taking a sip of tea, and he just says, they never, this wasn't even talked about. This wasn't even talked about. And he just looks like he's at a loss for words. And he just kind of like goes back to reading.
Milo will walk up to him and give him 100 silver pieces or 10 gold pieces and say, for your new life.
He looks at you and holds your hand, and just looks bewildered at all of it. And I imagine you could probably start to see like a shedding of a tear, as he just doesn't know what to do with himself.
If you're ever lost, Milo looks to the gentleman, Dedrier, and says, "I'm not sure what your plans are with him, but I think there's a clothing shop that could always use work. Back in Kintargo. Look for Epley's fine clothing. We can get you work there."
Yeah, he looks like he can't bring the words out of his mouth, but he just mouths, "Thank you."
Milo just smiles and nods at him. Again, he's just positively giddy. Just like oozing with like righteous like joy. Best day he's had in a long, long, long time.
Fast forward an hour, and you and your compatriots are outside again, getting ready to... Oh, he's not there. My bad. Getting ready to move on. I need to shrink your tokens a little bit here. Getting ready to move on. You still have the coordinates of the camp, which was y'all's original goal to get there. Bringing Madden side by side for comparison's sake. Is there anything else you'd like to do before you head on out?
Rigzin would just tell them the directions of where they're trying to go. I am not sure what is going to happen between now and when we reach the camp. It is quite possible that some of us may not even return from this. But if any of us do make it to the camp, I would just request, free as many as you can.
Now, just so I'm on the same page as you guys, you have the coordinates. You have the coordinates for the for where the cult of Asmodeus was operating out of. That the shop owner Akasazi Sedru told you about. You guys are essentially, if you look on the map of Ravenel region, that blue X is the approximate location. You guys are. So there is that, and then there's also the Hellknight camp, which you've been told is somewhere in the forest to the east of Akasazi. You know, it's not a terribly large region, and that you could probably search through it. Just so I'm on the same page as you, what is the plan? Where are you going?
Yeah, so just want to clarify, the idea to go to the cultists was to find what they know about the Hellknights, because we didn't have access to any Hellknights. So the idea was, you know, they're kind of connected, so maybe if we get to them and beat them up and stuff like that, we'll know where they think the Hellknights might cross over.
Sure.
Right? To Cheliax. But we were fortunate that we actually found two Hellknights who have come from a camp that they know where some camp is. So now we can directly go to them without having to visit the cult.
Right.
Is-
I mean, the mission we were
is what
sent
I'm
on was
thinking-
to clear that cult out, but at this point, we're much more concerned with getting our friend back.
Yes. So
freeing
out
them
of
from each
character.
other.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that's time limited as well, right? More time limited in that they're taking him and the others out of Ravenel to Cheliax, where chance of rescue go right down.
Correct. So again, everything out of character, like as a player, thinking the way Rigzin would think, and based off what he's heard, kind of overhearing what. I mean, I don't think I would have overheard what Sabriel would have said, but knowing how Hellknights operate, he knows the time is little, and if they move camp, then it'll be really hard to track them again. So
Sure.
yeah, he would say, or at least he would try to convince the group to ignore the cultists for now and at least go save Sabriel.
Sure. Yeah, the objective has changed. We know we were sitting here to take care of these cultists, but Hellknights stealing free people and moving them into slavery has become a priority. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Just wanted to make certain I was
That's
operating on
Milo's
the same
perspective.
page as you guys.
I like how everybody says access to Hellknights.
How everyone says what?
Access to Hellknights. Now we have access to Hellknights.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, yes, that's a nice word. Good way to refer to it. We were blessed. We were blessed with access.
Okay, cool. So that is the plan. Just wanted to be on the same page as you. So, one small thing to consider, too, just because Rigzin would know this, is that I'm not trying to sway you guys one way or the other, but just based on what we've talked about, you know that the cult and the Hellknights tend to work in tandem in on operations such as this. And while you are uncertain of whether or not whatever is at the Blue X might be that is something that specifically Rigzin would know based on previous experience.
Wait. Okay. So, sorry, this lot of OOC conversation didn't want to. So I'm a little confused.
You're good.
The cultists. So what you're saying is that the cultists. So I think that was not very clear to me as a player. So I was not sure if Rigzin would know this clearly. So the cultists
Gotcha.
are completely hand in hand with the Hellknights.
Essentially, how it operates is that, and this is something that Rigzin would have knowledge of, is that the Hellknights tend to work in tandem with some type of group of cultists in a region. Essentially, the Hellknights go around rounding people up, bringing them to a central location that is usually that the cult themselves usually administrate or work on. And eventually, when the quota is met, the Hellknights march home or work with the cult to bring them home. But essentially, they're kind of like a third-party organization that has been contracted by the cult, and technically, Cheliax contracts with the church, so that way Cheliax keeps its hands clean.
Okay, sorry. So
No, it's okay. I know it's a bit confusing and stuff. I just wanted to make certain that we were. I was uncertain if you were aware of that. So again,
I
yeah.
guess what we don't know is we know that they would. By the sound of this, Rigzin, I guess, would know that they would take people to this central location, which could well be this cult headquarters, before they leave Ravenel. But what we don't know is whether they've already done that.
Correct.
So that's the unknown kind of part.
Yeah, and then
okay.
if Rigzin was to make it to light, It'd be one of those things where we could be heading them off at the same time, or we could miss them by going the other way.
Okay, so yeah, so okay, at this point, it's almost like 50-50, right?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, like I mean, so what I'm
Gotcha.
getting at is, so after all this, we know where the camp is, but there's no point going to the camp. Like you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. So yeah, you essentially know that the Hellknight camp is somewhere in the forest to the east of Akasazi. In terms of what your characters know, right?
Yeah,
You don't know where Sabriel is at this point in time.
correct.
Like Rigson himself said it in that thing where he brought out the map, and he's like, once they meet their quota, they go back. Right?
Correct.
You don't know if they've met their quota. You know that initiate told you where the Hellknight camp was. And so, I mean, he was from that camp, so it's probably a good bet that the camp is still in operation, right? You also know that you've got this essentially coordinates for cult activity that Sedru told you about in the Dismal Niche. That's also close by. Putting two and two together, Rigson might be like, okay, this might be the headquarters, or not the headquarters. This might be the location that the cult is operating out of. That would normally work hand in hand with the Hellknights, right? Or it could be it's
okay,
like,
okay.
oh,
So I see. So okay, if I'm reading this correctly, knowing where, so let me see if this makes sense, right? So knowing where the cult is, which is in the forest to the north of northeast of Akasazi, knowing that the cult is actually to the southwest of us along the coast in the Dismal Niche, right? Which means that and they have to go along the coast. That means they are going to come through this place. Would you think Rigson would be able to make that connection, or should I make a roll for that? I'm just trying to figure out of context what would be the correct strategy at this point, right? Like, we know where the camp is, go to the camp, or wait for them to exit camp and come here and lay a trap for them at the cult headquarters before they get there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, based on what you were saying when you brought out the map and you set it on the table and
Correct.
you went through that whole spiel with everybody, like, I don't know if you guys remember that, but you were like, they're not going to go to the east. You know, the plains are there. Nobody likes Nadal. They're creepy. They're not going to go to the south. There's Menador's Gap. And you're kind of going through that whole thing.
Yes, correct.
Like, I think it's very reasonable that the connection might form in Rigson's head. Because it's in the direction that he was essentially saying. Maybe he doesn't put two and two together in that exact moment, but maybe it kind of dawns on him. Now, again, I'm prepared for whatever the heck you guys want to do. I thought maybe I was unclear, and I just wanted to make certain that that I was clarifying things for you all, just so that I wasn't
Sure.
in case I was being too cryptic.
I see. So how about we? My only thing is, like, this feels a little more. There's going to be OOC discussion, or or maybe in RP like strategy discussion at this point.
The other thing is,
yeah.
The other thing is that I was planning for Sabriel to try and kind of start a big fire to kind of indicate his location. One that might be start it at night, so it might be seen from some distance away.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he's just too far for that to work, because I don't know exactly where he is, but that's a possibility.
Yeah, so maybe if everybody's okay, like, we can discuss it OOC, and then we can RP that as the beginning of the next session. I just feel that I think this is definitely something that would be... I'm pretty sure Rigson would bring this up, but I think I know for sure Madden would think otherwise. And and
Yeah.
people might have as players might have other options, because it's almost like it looks like two different directions, like 180 degrees apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
We're like right
and
in the middle.
yep, and I'm a little drained from all the RP we just had today,
absolutely.
so I don't want to force anything on the situation. So maybe we can take that into the next session,
Yeah.
if that's
So
okay.
I think that's perfectly reasonable. So how we'll do this is Milo and Caravel, you exit the house, and you join with Madden and Rigson in front of the house, and the camera kind of like zooms out, big old crazy zoom, and then zooms in on the forest that is east of Akasazi. And we see our friend Sabriel, who is just sitting there in a lump with his friends. And Sabriel, too, also felt a surge of power, a connection that could be made, some ability to cast spells that he was unable to cast before over the night. And as he awoke the next morning, he could feel a little bit of that strength of power. What is going through Sabriel's mind?
Yeah, so Sabriel, the biggest change he feels is that as he's kind of recovering, at least some energy, if not, recovering from the actual injury to his ankle, he spends ages just lying exhausted on the ground, on the bare earth. And after an hour or so, just lying there in agony from his ankle and exhaustion and everything else, he realizes he was actually gripping the earth, and he feels an energy gathering in that hand that's kind of, the fingers are sunk into the ground, and he just mutters a word. A word just comes to mind, some race memory. It's not a spell like he normally casts, it's something a little different. He doesn't know it, but it's a bit more akin to what Caravel does. Primal. And he sees a little flame dart across his fingertips. And he looks around at him, at the canvas tents, at the wooden tables, the wooden barrels, and even though he is in immense pain, he lets his face changes a little, and he smiles through the pain, and it's not a pleasant smile.
Yeah, as you are kind of working that out, you can see all of the various people going and talking, and as you smile, the camera zooms in on you, into your eye, and instead of us seeing Sabriel in the middle of this encampment, we see him in the middle of a study, a table with filled with books galore, magical incantations, all kinds of papers up on the side of different motions that can be made with one's hands, and it's clearly that it's the past. Perhaps Sabriel is still his same bored self, and my apologies, Wanderer. I know I'm just springing this on you, so
No worries.
Go with me, and I think we'll get this.
Sure.
A moment later, you hear a door open up in the downstairs, and I imagine it's kind of like it's kind of a spire that sits in the middle of Cantargo. And up comes the familiar wizard that told you that he'd like for you to be his protege, his mentor. And he kind of walks up the stairs, and as you look out of the windows of this giant spire, you can see all of the house-thrown chiliacs tapestries and the like, just essentially coating all of this, the walls and areas of Cantargo in the square. Your wizard comes up, kind of like takes his cloak off, hangs it up, and you can see a small brooch on his, that you can see on his, like kind of like the inside of his cloak, just a small bit of a gleam as he goes up to you. My student, how goes your studies?
Sabriel had been looking out the window and busy thinking how just tasteless all these banners were. And he kind of gives a little bit of a start when his master talks to him and says, "Oh, I've made a start. I've made a start on the work you asked me to do, the incantation here. It's a little complex, and his master can probably tell he's read a couple of lines, and that's about it.
Yeah, that is bullshitting him.
Yeah. He has started technically, but he did about 5 minutes work, and then he spent the rest of the time looking out the window. And it's a little complicated. I'll get there in time. Don't worry, master."
He takes a deep sigh and walks over to the window, looking out over the city, and he kind of shakes his head as well. My boy, there is going to come a time where you will wish with every fiber of your being that you took this a hair more seriously. We have all the time in the world. Yes, you've told me this many times. But just because we do doesn't mean that time waits for us, that events stop for us, that things bend themselves to our will and go around us. I need you to understand that, Sabriel.
Sabriel puts on a very serious face and says, "Yes, master. Absolutely." It's kind of obvious he's, rather than really taking it in, he's trying to put on his, how would I look if I'd really taken this in, right? I'll look like that.
Yeah, it's like when my kid is like, how does dad want me to look?
Yeah, that's what I was channeling to. Yep.
Yeah, he shakes his head because he absolutely sees through it. You could catch him like looking out the window, though. These humans will live their lives and they will die in a blink of our own eyes. Son, I need you to understand that your life is not your own. That you will be needed by others, whether they be humans, whether they be other elves. But your presence is needed, your study is needed, your focus is needed. I can't teach you a thing until you can understand the gravity of that.
Well, with all due respect, master, I'm but a student. It's one such as yourself, people of true power who make a difference in the world. I'm just here for the ride. I just want to live my life quietly. No one should rely on me.
You might not want anyone to rely on you, son, but there will come a day that someone does. No matter how hard you try not to be relied upon, no matter how hard you try to live peacefully, no matter how hard you try to go about your days, life finds a way to bring chaos into the midst of our best-seated plans.
Sabriel takes in his master's intent, even if he doesn't really agree, and he sighs and says, "Yes, Master, I'll try. It's difficult." As a little background, I see Sabriel having some of the same challenges that I think I do sometimes. Being having the kind of ADHD brain, and he's there's always so much around to distract him that staying with one thing is hard. So he kind of looks down at the book and just sees all this dry words, and then sees 101 things in the room that will pull his attention away from it. And even as he's thinking, like, I need to focus, his brain's racing on a dozen other things, and he sighs and forces himself to focus on the page and says, "I will try, Master. That's all any of us can do, is it not?"
He nods slowly, looking at you, and he kind of looks at you, looking at everything, kind of distracted, and he, I have an idea. And he goes towards this violin that's kind of sitting there all by itself. And he kind of like raises it up and casts some type of spell to where it begins playing by itself in front of you. Just the violin. And he, and you notice that everything else in the room kind of gets quiet. Son, do your best with your inner ear to listen on this and this alone as you read and as you study. Talk to yourself. Read the words aloud if you need to. And he begins kind of like taking your hands and moving them into some of it, like a familiar, like the same motions that we kind of are seeing you do now. Close your eyes if you need to and shut out the world. Focus on the music. Focus on this one sound. Sometimes it helps even me.
And Sabriel, looking a little skeptical but trying to be positive, nods, and then he closes his eyes and just listens to the music. And then a little smile comes to his lips, and he says, "It does help. It does. Thank you, Master." And with that, he actually starts getting a little bit more into the practice of the spells, finding his focus at last. And it's not likely he'll turn into a diligent student overnight, but he seems to have made a bit of a breakthrough, found a way to study, found a way to at last gain this knowledge that's been so slow to come to him.
And as a final scene, you could kind of see Sabriel closing his eyes, listening to the sound of the violin as the wizard looks out over everything, over the banners of House Thrune, throughout the streets of Cantargo, shaking his head, looking back on you with a slight nod as he makes his way back to his cloak and looks at this brooch, which is a silver raven, and it will fade out at that point in time. Thank you guys so much for playing. I know it was some heavy RP tonight. Thank you. We'll go ahead and leave it there.
Always a joy, even with torture.
Thank you very much for running, Prankster.
Thank you. Yes, that's a good game.
Yeah.
I mean, like, honestly, guys, we're like barely like actually playing Pathfinder. We're doing a lot of improv and RP, and I'm here for it. So
We rolled a couple dice today.
we rolled a couple dice, couple
Yeah.
saves. That was
There's
fun.
some skill checks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm here for it, so no complaints. All right, guys. So the next time that we have scheduled to play, I believe, is the 26th.
I'm gonna say goodnight, everybody, as I stop the recording.
No, I thought it was